everyone, and welcome to Twillow Talk. I'm Tanis Coughlin from the Twillow Lifestyle Community, and I am joined today with my beautiful co-host, Jennifer Jurkofsky, and our amazing special guest, Angela Day. So, we have been having some fun with technology today. So bear with us, guys, if we're, in and out, because some of us are having some techie issues, okay? So we'll do the... Well, I was trying not to point you at Jen, but, Jen is having some tech issues. It's all good. So we've got some weather happening here in Ottawa and Quebec. And so, we have to go with the flow of stuff. That's what's happening. And so we're really happy to be able to be on here and be able to host Angela Day. So Jen, why don't you quickly introduce yourself, and then we'll have Angela introduce herself.
Most definitely. So you guys know me, Jennifer Jurkofsky. I'm with Twillow Lifestyle Academy and Twillow Lifestyle Community, and also with My Holistic Self Counseling. I do psychotherapy, counseling, and intuitive life coaching. I work with a very holistic approach, looking at incorporating human design, Enneagram, Reiki, Nocti, Aqualead, all different kinds of energy and healing modalities.
Yay. Awesome. And Angela, why don't you tell us about us? First of all, tell them, because Canada and everything.
I'm in Scotland, and we've got a lot less weather by the sounds of it than you guys do. So I'm in Hamilton, but it's the Scottish version and not the one where you guys are.
Yeah.
And that's cool. Shall I continue and tell you what I do?
Yeah, please, yeah.
So I practice health kinesiology, although in Canada it's known as natural bioenergetics, and I use that along with some hypnotherapy and some coaching techniques to work through whatever's going on with people from the past, moving them forwards to where they want to be now, and then hopefully guiding them to where they want to go in the future. So that pretty much sums us up.
Oh, I think there's a few more skills.
Probably a few.
That's just one aspect of what you do, right?
That's just one aspect, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you want to share some of the others?
Yeah. So I thankfully I've not been asked to help out with the tech side of things so far, but I do tend to get tapped on the shoulder for a lot of tech requests and how do I do this and how do I do that? And the other side of what I do from a business perspective is I'm also a brand photographer. So I get some great shots of some lovely clients and work through what they need to have image-wise for their business, which is also quite good fun too.
Awesome. And this picture has gone out again, so we'll just continue. So here at Twillow Talk, what we do, hello Annie. Good to see you. And she's coming back. There we go. Well, we actually pick a card from this awesome deck there, Diana Cooper, and it's wisdom cards. So that would be these. Okay. And what we do is they have a topic, and we will have a little discussion about the topic. So are you excited, Angela?
A little bit excited, a little bit apprehensive. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Hello, Ted Brooks. How are you?
It's a little bit that unknown uncertainty part of things, isn't it? That there's always a little bit of, I wonder where it's going to go this time.
Well, there's a lot of that right now, right? Going on all over the world. A lot of uncertainty. Absolutely. And so the thing that we, it's like we're, okay. This is the card we got today. It would be risk.
Wow. Okay.
I guess we are going to be talking about risk, and we usually try to talk about it from a very holistic and light standpoint. So this is going to be an interesting one for us. So I usually read the card. So I'll read the card. So risk is inherent in all forms of growth and a part of every adventure. When you are risk adverse, you are confined by the safe and familiar. Desperation and fear result in reckless decisions, so be calm and considerate at all times. Ask yourself, what is at stake, and chance only that which is yours. Remember that security is an illusion, and act wisely, openly, and honestly. Then accept the outcome graciously, and all will be well. And it comes with an affirmation, and it says, I welcome adventure and growth.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I welcome adventure and growth. I think that's a great affirmation for right now, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. In my past life as a corporate person, I did actually work in risk management, and I studied risk theory as part of my degree process. So it's one of those things that since I've handed the dissertation in, I wanted nothing to do with, and then got a job doing risk management. So
Right.
it's interesting to then take that step back and then look at it not from a stocks and a shares and a portfolio perspective, or working in the corporate world, but actually looking at personal risk and where we're comfortable, because we've all got an appetite to risk, which is a technical term,
Mm-hmm.
but that just means, are you playing it safe, or are you doing something outside that comfort zone, is where I would go with risk.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty key in terms of your too. So here's Jen back. Hello, Jen, and hello, Tarot Stash.
Mhm.
Can you hear us and everything, Jen?
Me?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, sorry. I didn't know if you were saying it to me or to somebody else.
Yep. No, to you.
And you
Awesome.
guys can hear me.
We
Woohoo!
can. Woohoo! Yeah. We got a topic.
Oh.
Risk.
Oh.
Yes.
Interesting.
What I didn't know is that Angela is trained in risk management.
Oh, cool.
So there's a reason why we get it too. But we both love the affirmation that came with it today. I welcome adventure and growth.
Oh, I do like that too.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So that really goes, when we look at the coaching that we all do, it's really a big part of that, right? In terms of when you think about growth. So risk, I mean, we tend to think with that word risk that it's about businessy stuff, but it's not always, is it? We take personal risks a lot in relationships, in friendships, in life purpose stuff.
Well, I'm even thinking
Hand
about
gliding.
spirit.
Hand gliding and, parachuting.
It's all about where your risk appetite lies, right?
Yes. Mine does not lie in that area. Jen.
I shouldn't talk today. No, a couple things came to mind. If you can hear me, great. If not, I will talk into the ether. It's all good. But the first one was hearing about the Chinese symbol for crisis, which I often associate with risk, right? Like if you're taking a risk, there is this idea of danger, and that's one of the components of crisis, and the other is opportunity. And so I very much kind of correlate the two, because I think that with risk, there is danger, but there's also opportunity, right? And so when we're thinking about even the spiritual journey, what comes to mind is that idea in the Sufi tradition, right? The die before you die. There is risk in that, right? Because there's a part of us that isn't going to want to let go, that little self, that ego, that separate piece, that doesn't want to go and doesn't want us to move beyond it. And so even taking that step into our spiritual journey can be a risk, right? Because a part of us will have to go in order for us to move to the next step and to the next step and so on.
Yes.
And when we're in that comfort space, when we're in the comfort space, it's so easy just to say, I think I'll just stay here. Because it is that piece of, you've got to let go of something to allow yourself to move forward and to progress and to build and grow and take that adventure. And it can be quite, it can also have that kind of battle internally of, well, do I want to take the risk, or will I stay here? And then sometimes you end up just about that backwards and forwards and never moving anywhere. So there's the leap of faith almost, isn't it? There to take that chance and to take that risk and to step beyond your little space.
Yeah, for sure. And, when we're talking about the leap of faith, it's about knowing that, that essence of self is safe anyway, no matter what we choose to do, right? Our essence of self is always safe because it's energy and it goes on, it just transforms. So we just transform. We basically do an energetic alchemy all our lives as we go through risk, right? Transforming each layer.
Yeah. And every time you take that little step, your comfort zone gets a little bit bigger. So then that's comfy too.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
So-
and I love too what Angela was saying about that kind of in-between place. And I think sometimes when we think about risk, we think of big leaps, right? But sometimes it is those baby steps, right? But just take the step, even if it's the tiniest little step, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because when we step into the fear, it becomes like you're not even clear about what those little steps are because you're in fear, right? And that's where like the coaching can be helpful, or counseling, is to help you identify. So what are those steps that you could, if you choose to? Because I know it's not our role in to make other people's decisions, right? So it's about helping them identify what their steps are.
And then to understand that as they take those steps, that they're not alone, that there's the option to give us a shout, to talk to their little support structures or even their big support structures, depending on who they've got around them, that we're not doing it by yourself. We do have people around who usually want to encourage us to move forwards and do big things and have adventures and grow.
Spirit team. Isn't it great when they nudge us? They're like, go on. Go. Yeah.
I like that yours are gentle like that.
Sometimes. If I don't, that's the first nudge. Then it's like,
okay.
We told you already.
I must miss that first bit. I must miss that first bit all the time.
Yeah. At least they have a good sense of humor.
They do.
I find mine have a good sense of humor, my spirit guide.
Yeah.
So
usually at my expense. But yeah.
I get a lot of rolls. So it's all good. What do you think, Jen?
You're doing something right when they roll their eyes at you, right?
Yeah. Yours do, Jen.
A little bit of all of it. Honestly, there are times where like sometimes I'll get the come on, right? Like the and it's like, I know I have to. And other times it is like, I'm on the edge of the precipice and off you go.
Yeah. And of course, this is all figurative for all of our listeners, it's those, the nudges can come in messages or, symbols and signs and
it's interesting.
All those things.
If you guys can still hear me, just thinking about, my journey, as you're saying, what do yours do? And I'm reflecting back and I'm thinking and I'm, yes, we have choices and we have options and we can say yes and no and all of that. But I think there are certain things in our lives that even though we think they're really risky, they're exactly what we signed up for. They're exactly what we're here to do. And taking that step is not actually a risk, even though we think it is.
And there's a good chance we've asked for it as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just thinking about times where like I've said no, and then it's like, well, you're doing this whether you like it or not, so strap on your big girl pants and let's go. And then the choice is no longer even there for me. It's just you're doing it.
Yeah. That's the big shove when they get to that point, right? That's them shoving you into a change.
And then 9
Yeah.
times out of you 10, it's like, why didn't I do it sooner?
Mm-hmm.
Or it wasn't as scary as I thought it would be. Or I loved that. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Somebody, one of my friends was channeling, and she channeled this message about letting go. You think you're over a volcano, but you're actually a castle on a boat.
Ooh.
So I was like, huh. Interesting. So it's, that's kind of, it's all figured. Obviously something that and it's that change, right? It's taking that risk is it can be fearful because we build it into something else like a volcano when it's not.
But there's also that side of it
But that's
is
kind of
where
that.
does risk come from? Why do we associate the word risk with fearful? Because you mentioned it could be crisis or opportunity. So actually, does it need to be
True.
fearful? And are we putting that on ourselves when there's maybe no need to be fearful? Because every day when you wake up, you don't know what's going to come. So it's all an opportunity.
That's, yep.
Yeah.
So shift our perspective. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you know what? When we think about it, it really is so much about perspective, because sometimes sitting and doing nothing, you're taking an even bigger risk. Not making a change, you're taking an even bigger risk, right? And so really, when we think about it from just the concept of perception, what's going on for us and why exactly is what Angela's saying, are we defining risk as something that's negative,
It's
right?
true.
Why are we saying, okay, well, if I step out into the unknown, that's taking a risk, when staying in the comfort zone might actually be more,
A bigger risk.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah. I think for me, it's programming from business. I think that's where mine comes from. It's totally programming, but
Yes, it's the whole comment of if there's no risk, there's no reward. But actually, there you go. It's the reward what we're driving for. And let's just take away any potential negatives, because we're guided to go where we're going to go. And if we're going to fail at something, it's because we needed to fail at it to learn something. And we've not really failed if we pick ourselves back up again and keep going. And I think someone just commented about risk is about recognizing courage. It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm thinking too, like even you had said, Angela, you're in risk management, right? And again, that connotation. And of course, for me, the psychology side of me wants to go right back to like relational frame theory and this idea that everything is based on language and the definition that we give something, right? Semantics are important. How we define something and how we associate it really determines how we feel about it. Right. But we live in a world that risk is negative and it has to be managed.
Exactly.
But there's some fun risks too. I do remember we had one entry on our risk line that there was a particular team or a department who were all part of a lottery syndicate. So there was a risk line on our risk management log to say, if they all win the lottery, we're going to have to do something about it because it's unlikely they'll still be working here. So
Right.
there's some nice fun risks too, but it's all about being aware. And actually when you start looking at risks from that perspective and you start thinking, right, what's the worst that can happen? What's the next worst that can happen? And looking at it from the negative perspective, 9 times out of 10, you're going to mitigate it using the technical terms. You're going to mitigate the risk. You're going to work out, well, if this happens, then we'll do that. If this happens, we're just going to go with it. There's nothing we can do. Or if this happens, it's so catastrophic, we might not do that. We'll maybe do something different. Because, and that to me is where the risk management piece comes in, and the fact that we don't have to do everything that's set out in front of us. We might decide that hang gliding's a step too far, or bungee jumping's not really where we want to go. But maybe doing some cross-country trip somewhere is exactly where we want to go. And that, for some people, is even more terrifying than jumping out of a plane. It's all about where we want to go with it and what we think is acceptable risk.
Exactly. And is it really a risk if you're tapping in and you're told to go there, right? If you're tapping into your guides and they're saying, no, turn left here instead of right, is it really a risk? They know what's best for us, right? They're guiding us for whatever's for our highest good. It's a risk then.
Yeah. And perhaps the only risk is if we then halfway through we stop listening to them, or we stop talking to them or asking them for support and guidance.
It's true.
Then there might be some consequences that we might not have expected. But if you've started the journey by listening to your intuition, to your guides, to whatever support structure you've got built in place for yourself, there's a good chance you're going to continue to follow that until you get to that completion piece, or you turn around and go home.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no stigma to that either. If you get down a path and you think, actually, this isn't where I want to be, being able to have that ability to say, I've changed my mind, is also really powerful too.
Yeah, we have
And
to
a lot
give
of people
ourselves
look at that as a risk.
permission. We have to give ourselves permission to do that too, because we don't always, right?
Mm.
We think once we make a decision that it's like written in stone, and it doesn't have to be. That's really just us giving ourselves permission.
Well, and it's it's a beautiful thing because we can do it. Like if I think about Reiki, right? Just for today.
Yeah.
Right? All of the just for today. Right? And we can do that with things, and we can look at the positive things, and we can say, okay, just for today, I can focus on, right? But when it comes to the negative stuff, we catastrophize. It's all or nothing. It's like,
Exactly.
right?
Life is over.
This is the rest of my life. What?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. So I'm going to put a question in.
There's not much that's really permanent, is there?
No, nothing is. I mean, we're never the same person 2 days in a row because we always learn something. So the only constant is that change factor. So let's put a question out. I'm thinking, why don't we ask our audience here, what's the biggest risk that you took? It felt like the biggest risk for you, if you're willing to share. It can be small, but it felt big. Get too personal, and it isn't and all that. But if there's something you can hint at in the chat, that was your biggest risk. Falling in love. Thank you, Catherine. Yes. That can feel risky, right? Taking that first jump with somebody.
It's interesting when we think about it from that perspective of what's the biggest risk you take. My mind immediately connects risk and vulnerability, right? Ability to allow ourselves to be vulnerable, to be potentially wounded in some way, right? Whether it's emotionally, mentally, physically, whatever it is. That's where that risk piece really becomes scary, right? Where it turns from excitement to fear.
And one of our viewers is saying coming out. Absolutely. That's another one. And for me, it was starting a business. That was probably my biggest one. It wasn't a guaranteed income. There were benefits. So it was like jumping in and trusting that I would be able to make a living at it. Annie says traveling to India on her own. Yeah, absolutely. That would feel pretty.
That's an awesome risk. I want to take that risk.
Yeah. She went for yoga training. So it was awesome. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. I think if you look at the India thing, one of my biggest risks in India was eating in a particular restaurant and they put me in the hospital for 2 days. But that's a totally different thing, right?
Uh-oh.
I don't even think it was a particularly good meal.
That's even more disappointing. Oh, for sure.
But travel's a fun, scary one, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, for sure. I think too, another one that comes is, when you first move out on your own. That's kind of one that's like fun, but like, oh my gosh, I have all this responsibility. My son's going through that. Tarot's vulnerability is a true sign of strength.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's a lot of bravery and vulnerability, isn't there?
Mm-hmm. There is. You have to have that courage to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
And in a sense, all of us have had to do that today by coming on here, right?
I was all right till you said that. I'm joking.
No, but we've done great, right? It's just part of it. But yeah, I mean, when you're on a live like this, we don't have control over what's going to happen. We've stepped into it and we're like, okay, let's just allow whatever, right?
Yeah, what will be, will be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think, the chaos in the world today is just an indicator of, it's kind of the same, right? You step into chaos to make change. So you take the risk of jumping into chaos to make that change. And so there's a lot of sort of, the energies are a little all over the place at the moment. And it's only because there's beautiful changes coming for all of us.
A lot of people thrive in the chaos as well. So it's not always a bad thing.
That's
that
right.
chaos gives people, when you've got chaos, you've got more permission to look for change. You've got more permission to say, is this right for me? Do I want to do something different? What are the other options out there? Because I don't like where I'm at right now. There's got to be something else I fancy doing, or something that's better for me out there, and I'm going to go and look for it now. Yeah. Whereas if you're always living in the status quo, then you might not stick your head above the parapet to see what else is out there.
That's true. Because we all get caught in our day-to-day lives too, right? Just going from job to home, job to home. And we don't always, at risk of looking at the other options.
Yeah. Taking a pause and seeing actually what's around me.
Mm-hmm.
Because the risk is you're going to miss something.
Yeah. And, what comes to mind when you say that is that I think that anything that is truly meant for us, we won't miss it. Because we will get the nudges like we were talking about. Or the pushes, It will.
The swift kick.
Yeah. Occasionally it's a swift kick. Yep.
For sure.
Indeed.
Well, and it's interesting too, because, in the 3D, we're told so much that we have to have this and we have to do that, and that this is connected to that, right? Like, we have to work and we have to have a 9 to 5, and if we don't make our income, we're not going to pay our bills, and right? And so we get very caught up in the nuances of the 3D, and even just stepping away from that is a huge risk from a 3D perspective.
Right.
But it's really liberating from a spiritual perspective, and from an empowerment perspective, and from a life journey perspective, and from everything but the 3D perspective.
It's true. So the other thing that comes up for me with that is, there's expectations from those around you. And whose expectations are you living up to? Or how are you judging your actions? Are you judging your actions by everybody else's expectations, or are you judging them by your own? And where did your own expectations come from? Are they programmed? Or are they truly how you feel?
And for some of us, that is such a hard question to get your head around, because perhaps you've never even thought about it. Am I living my own beliefs? Am I living my own values? Or am I just floating along this little lazy river, bobbing along and following what my parents are saying, or my siblings, or my colleagues, or whoever else is around you, without again taking that pause to say, what fuels me? What feeds my soul?
Mm-hmm.
And where do I want to be in this? And yeah, absolutely. Whose standards are you living up to and expectations? Because the only ones that really matter are our own.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, you're not going to look back at your life and say, "Oh, I wish I'd done a little bit more for that person's expectations," or the comment of, "I wish I'd spent more time at work."
Yeah, no.
Really?
No one. Right? Although I have to say, I love my job. I love what I do now. So for me, I could see myself saying that now.
But also,
So
are you not
I shouldn't
looking?
make that blanket.
Well, I was going to say also, you might love your job, but you've then made that balance of how much time you're going to dedicate to your job, how much time you're going to dedicate to your self-development, to your personal life, and what other things that you might want to put in there. And I think as business owners, it's up to us to find that balance,
Mm-hmm.
because it's so hard to let it slip.
Yeah. And it happens. I know for me, I'll have like a really busy couple of weeks, and all of a sudden I'll be like, all right, time to like step back and think about why I'm not. Why is that? And doing the self-reflection. And that's part of that spiritual journey, right? Doing the self-reflection and figuring out where you are and yourself. What do I need right now? What does my soul need? What does my body need? Right? What do I need emotionally?
And whether it's as simple as
And
going for a
then,
quick walk outside or actually having a full night's sleep. Yeah.
yes, exactly. Exactly. Or do I need more play in my life? I think all of us need more play.
I think we all do.
I think play is we need to play with
Vital.
we need to play with our inner child a little more. Mm-hmm. Of course, what
So
is
you're going to
play?
go and sign up for that bungee jump and the hang gliding now, yeah?
No, but I'm going to buy a coloring book.
Ooh.
And I might scribble outside the lines. Take a risk.
I will definitely scribble outside the lines.
So here's a risk for you. Color changing pens, and don't look at what color it changes to.
See, risk is all relative, folks.
Exactly. Mix all the caps up.
There you go. Or draw a blindfold on. Have you ever done that? Take
Not
a
for a
big piece
long
of paper,
time.
put it out in front of you, and grab whatever color you grab and draw whatever comes to mind. It's like intuitive drawing. Intuitive drawing.
I might have to try that. I might not share what I draw, but I might have to give it a try.
It's not even about the end result. It's about doing it.
No.
Right? It's about the process. I used to teach painting classes. And I used to really like enforce this is not about the end result. It's what are you getting out of the process?
The act of doing.
Painting it. Yeah. It's that creative outlet. It's because I've done two types. The type where I'm like, okay, it's very detailed, and let's do that. Like I painted on jewelry this big, or there's the paint. And they're very different processes. I find the bigger one is more of a risk.
Because one I'm guessing is extremely detailed and yeah. Oh, okay. Why?
Because
I would think I would think the small one would be really challenging.
Challenging, but not risky. Because usually when I was doing small
but there's
stuff, you don't have the choices.
Up.
Oh, I suppose.
Yeah, that's me. The messing up aspect would be my fear.
But see, I think
but
this
if you mess versus
awesome.
Go ahead.
But you can't mess it up. If you're truly just going with the flow and allowing whatever to happen, There is no risk in that. And so
Yeah.
this
That's
is
right.
such a beautiful example of how our perception steps in and determines what we think is risky and what we don't, what we perceive to be, where we put our fear, where we, step back and kind of go, because, in this case, both Angela and I are like, well, if I wanted to do like a very specific picture, there's much more risk in messing that up than just a free form. It can be whatever it's meant to be. Right. And then you're looking at it as, well, this big thing could be messed up, whereas this tiny little thing, it doesn't really matter if it gets messed up. So it's just such a beautiful example of how perception, how like our own kind of experiences and everything else get in the way and then cause us to have fear over something or to think that something is risky, whereas somebody else is like, meh, no big deal.
It's true. And for me, when I was
think
doing this
it's really interesting that.
go ahead.
No, you go. I
When I
was
was
thinking more of the fact that if I'm thinking about that aspect of these paintings and things, making a mistake is permanent. And it's like, oh no, I can't do it. And I know I mentioned permanent, but not really being permanent. But I would rather go and jump out of a plane than risk messing up a painting.
really?
Yeah.
See, to me, painting is not, there's nothing permanent. So it doesn't, neither one really is a risk for me, but jumping out of a plane is a risk for me.
It's easy.
For me, with the little one, you're already around it. So that's the safety net for me with the little one. Whereas the bigger one, I probably were in my word. That was my when I was thinking about it. So that's why. So I guess I like structure to a certain extent.
But even in this, it's a beautiful example too on how we feel safe, right? Because you set up structure in order to feel safe, where structure can feel very confining to somebody else or very restrictive, right? And so, where does our safety come from? Where does, our strength or our motivation come from? Like they're all things that play into risk and what we're willing to risk and what we're not willing to risk. And
it depends on the area of
Where
the
are our
area.
current limits?
Yeah. And it's different in different areas, right? Because there's some areas where I would find structure like oppressive, whereas some areas I'm like, yeah, it's good. Let's do that. So I think it depends on the area in your life that you're looking at as well.
And this brings us right back to,
but I'm a little bit
nothing is permanent here.
Exactly.
Everything is changing, everything is in flux. And so even our perceived sense of safety and control is perceived.
Comes back to what's illusion. It's all really illusion. Fear is illusion. Fascinating. What a fascinating topic, ladies. It has been a pleasure. We're just about at our time, I think, because we had some tech issues. Clock is kind of our usual off. So I want to thank everyone in the audience for coming and sharing your insights with us. And thank you so much, Angela. Would you like to share where people can do, please?
Yeah, the easiest is probably innerpathways.co.uk, and I'm also around Facebook and LinkedIn and wherever else. Just need to search my name and you'll find me.
Awesome. That's great. So thank you so much for joining us. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you again, Jen. Co-hosting. Hopefully minus our tech issues. And we're it is worth mentioning that we are in the Lionsgate portal today. So for everyone out there, watch your thoughts. Manifesting is at its height. So do some soul searching on what you want to create in your life, where you want to take that. Everyone, and thank you for joining us.